this is Desalini. We're going to be doing another one of our NME+33 read-throughs today. I've done one of these already. I'll kind of float a link somewhere around me for you to go back and have a look at that if you want, because that has a little bit of extra detail about why I'm doing it and some of the issues surrounding it. But yeah, I'm not going to dwell too long on that today. And let's just kind of get straight into what we're doing today, which is we are looking at the NME from the 23rd of September, 1989. In fact, here it is now. You can see the cover there. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it here because we're going to sit down and we're going to have a good look through it, a page at a time. So stay tuned and we'll get reading now. Okay, we are looking at the NME, the issue dated the 23rd of September 1989. There was a free poster included with this issue. I have absolutely no idea what that is. I had a hard enough time kind of keeping the papers together themselves without keeping hold of every little freebie that came with the magazine. I might have a few of the kind of giveaway cover cassettes from various issues knocking around, but most of these kind of things will have long gone. Yes, anyway, this week's cover stars are The Cult. Yeah, this would be circa the Sonic Temple album, I guess, 1989. Yeah, they kind of outgrown their kind of goth roots, and they were kind of getting lots of exposure in the US as a kind of a hard rock band. Yeah, so that's The Cult circa 1989. What else in here this week? We have a classic interview with Joy Division kind of dusted down from the archives. And yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, yes, the news pages. Yes, the usual kind of singles, tour news, various things about U2 and the Stone Roses there. Moving on. Yeah, the news continues on this pair of pages here, pages 4 and 5. There's a bit there about the Futurama Festival, which is quite interesting because Futurama was kind of one of the original kind of post-punk festivals, started in Leeds in 1979 and ran for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. 1983, I think, was the last one. Yeah, they kind of rebooted it this year for 1989 with lots of kind of indie acts going there. But yeah, the original Futurama Festival was kind of like the birth of goth as a term. The original festival would have had people like Joy Division, the Bunnymen, Public Image Limited, OMD, the Teardrops, Cabaret Voltaire, The Fall. It was quite a big festival. So yeah, this was Futurama returning after a gap of a few years. Interestingly, they did try to reboot this more recently. It was scheduled to kind of rerun again in 2020, but the pandemic kind of put a halt to that. So I think that was initially kind of initially postponed, but now any plans for that have been completely shelved. What else do we have here? Yeah, this week's kind of record releases, 45s, LPs. Nothing too much in there that I can see jumping out at me. Oh, the Pale Saints, their debut EP, Barging into the Presence of God, that's in there. And yeah, at the bottom of the LPs, the Tears for Fears album, Seeds of Love, that was coming out this week. Okay, moving on. Yeah, this is just kind of a semi-regular US news feature here. Yeah, just kind of news and gossip from a kind of a US-centric perspective. Not a lot really to talk about there. And a big full-page ad for Kate Bush there. This is circa the Sensual World, I think. Okay, next page. Yes, Thrills. Yeah, this is the jokey page that we've seen before. Stuart McConey's editing it this week. Yeah, a few kind of joke, kind of fun pieces about various things. Stashes, quotes. Bob Dylan piece there, because he had a big album out this week. And kind of some of Stephen Street's favourite things there as well. Okay, the on pages. Yeah, the artist cover this week, as usual, this is edited by Steve Lamacq. The artists are Hugh Harris, the Marines, and the River City People. Okay. Moving on. Yes. What now? Oh, a small piece on kind of rock managers. Yeah, I think this was kind of almost a tie-in with the kind of the Cult thing, because they were kind of going heavily with the the kind of the hard rock stadium kind of angle this week, and this is like looking at the management behind some of these big kind of rock acts. And yes, here we are on the next page, the start of this big cult feature, which does kind of take up quite a bit of space this week, covering multiple pages with some ads in it. Yeah, I'm just kind of flicking through these as I speak. Yeah, it's your kind of typical, NME favorite, NME sponsored band makes it big feature, because they'd kind of risen from being this kind of cult indie goth band in the very early to mid 80s to this kind of big rock act that was, selling out American stadia, So there's lots of tales in here of debauchery with Axl Rose and stuff on tour. They were a rock act by this point. DEF CON 1. This is like another one of these semi-regular comic type features. Just looking at the world of comics and graphic novels. This week they seem to have an interview with Grant Morrison, who's, I guess, most famous for Arkham Asylum. I think that was his. And the singles, yes. So singles of the week this week are joint singles of the week. The Mekons with The Dream and Live, the Mekons. And Kate Bush, as we saw the big ad earlier, the Sensual World, the single there. A few other singles in here of interest. Mudhoney, Burn It Clean. B-52's Channel Z, yeah. And what else? Some kind of rock acts there. Aerosmith, Poison. Oh, Milli Vanilli there at the end. Wow. I'm almost tempted to read this one. I'm going to read this one. It says, "Do not adjust your codpiece. This is just like the last one, but slower. The prominently hung stallions of sentiment get real close to the mic and slip a line or two direct to you, girl. For my money, until someone pushes Pamela Des Barres out of retirement and sends her round to the Vanilli's penthouse with a super VHS and a dirty green bucket of polyfiller, I can do without seeing or hearing them." Wow, there you go. That was David Swift, I guess. He seems to have reviewed them all this week. So now we've got our Joy Division kind of retrospective feature here from 1978. Yeah. Okay. We're into the kind of the media section now. So this is all the kind of the films, books, videos, reviews over the next kind of couple of pages. Yeah, here we go. There's a review there of Peter Jackson's Bad Taste, which is his kind of low-budget splatter kind of comedy horror debut. Very highly recommended. It's a film I like. And yeah, Sound and Vision, covering the kind of TV and radio listings of the week. There's usually something interesting in there I can point out. Let's have a look. There you go. Doctor and the Crippins were Peel's guests in session on Radio 1 on Thursday, the 21st of September. Right, now we get into the meat of this week's issue, which is this, tying in with this cult feature. They have this this rock family tree. It looks like one of Peter Frame's cult family trees, this one. Completely identifiable because of the font and the layout. Beautiful look. I believe he hand drew all of these. Maybe not so much these days, but the initial ones, yeah, definitely all hand drawn. And yeah, it just kind of examines the whole kind of rock family tree, the history of a band. And this one is focusing on this week's cover stars, The Cult. Yeah, packed with detail. Much too much to go into here, but it goes back all the way to their punk roots, back to the Nosebleeds and Slaughtering the Dogs in Manchester, through a kind of their goth section in the middle, so all the kind of the Southern Death Cult, Sex Gang Children section, and then up to the kind of the final cult lineups, where they did share a member or two with Zodiac Mindwarp. Yeah, and along the right side of this page as well, you will see there's lots of images and some earlier covers for the band from like 1983 and 1987. So yeah, the album reviews. What have we got this week? We have Bob Dylan, his Oh Mercy album, getting a 10 from Gavin Martin there. I think this was kind of seen by many as a real kind of return to some kind of form for Bob Dylan. He'd released a few albums which were considered kind of quite subpar for him. Yeah, on the facing page, we've got Ian McCulloch's debut solo album, Outside of the Bunnymen, Candleland. And that one gets a 9 from Stuart McConey. What else do we get on this page? Oh, Aerosmith's Pump album, which gets an 8. On the next pages, we have, some CD reissues. Television's Marquee Moon, which was out of print on CD for many, many years. Finally getting an issue there and getting a well-deserved 10 out of 10. And The Lofts, Once Ran the Fair compilation there as well, getting an 8 from Steve Lamacq. Okay, so Short Circuit, that's just kind of like some short album reviews without giving any marks out of 10, just literally a paragraph about each. There's a few interesting ones in there. The Damned, Funkadelic, the Vaselines. Yeah, and on the facing page we get some tour news here, just bands with tour dates scheduled, small tours, large tours. Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine with a few dates there. A big tour at the bottom left there for Faith No More, playing some quite large venues. I see Snuff up there as well, but kind of a light-hearted, kind of funny, hardcore-ish kind of band playing some of the smaller venues up on the top right of the page there. And this week's gig guide, covering the period from Wednesday the 20th of September through to the following Tuesday, the 26th, Okay, series of pages here of just live ads. I think we can safely kind of skim across these, but you'll see some big names and some small names there. And finally we get to the live reviews this week. I think the whole live section is reasonably small again this time around. A lot of the gig circuit really heavily leaned on the university term times, and I guess this was maybe just before the start of the university term, because a lot of university unions did put on a lot of shows, a lot of the kind of indie bands that the NME would have been covering a lot of. So I think this was kind of the tail end of that kind of dead kind of part of the year, just following the summer festivals. Anyway, that first big page review there is Inner City, which is typical kind of review of a kind of a club or a dance act trying to kind of play a live show, really. Sounds like they weren't terribly impressed with that. And on the following pages, who do we get here? There's a Scar feature there of a Scar night. The Perfect Disaster down there on the left. Interesting band. They featured Joe Wiggs on bass, who went on to become part of the Breeders. And some bigger acts there covered. Wet, Wet, Wet on the right, and a kind of a rare American gig review feature there, Neil Young and Maria McKee in New York City. Okay, next page, we have an interview with Ghost Dance. Another one of these kind of goth bands, so there's a slight goth thread running through this week's issue. And further on, Paradise. This is kind of a dance stroke kind of club. Semi-regular feature again, a bit like some of the other features. They didn't feature every week, but they would pop in every couple of weeks with a roundup about their specific area of interest. And on the facing page, you can buy yourself an NME t-shirt at the cost of £4.95 each, including postage and packaging. So there you go, £5 would get you an NME t-shirt. Next page is Public Enemy. We've talked about this before. These are just kind of the gossip, kind of jokey talk, chat, who's out and about kind of pages. And then moving on, the classifieds page with, as ever, the crossword just across from it. As ever, uncompleted. Moving along. Fred Fact. Couple of questions this week about some fan clubs that don't seem to be answering their mail. Loop and James Brown, and a discography at the bottom of the Kinks singles. And on the facing page, just some advertising and a bit of a preview of next week's NME issue, where they were giving away some more freebies, which I've no doubt lost somewhere along the way. And yes, the charts. As ever, a huge double page worth of charts featuring a selection of different genre ones to look at this week. There's a world music one, a world 11, a CD singles chart again, a country 10, and yeah, just to skip across the highlights. Yeah, Right on Time by Black Box was still number 1 in the network chart. And the Inspiral Carpets was still number 1 in the indie singles chart. Yep. There's a small Fred fact features there as well about A&M's. That's A&M, the music label. Just a brief kind of run over the history of the A&M label. And then we get to the final page, which as ever is angst. So this is the letters page, edited this week by Andrew Collins. Yeah, the usual selection of, annoyed letters, jokey letters, with the usual range of replies from whoever happened to be manning the boards that week. This week it was Andrew Collins. And there we go. That is the NME from the 23rd of September, 1989. Approximately 33 years ago at the time of upload. I hope you've enjoyed having a look through it, and come back again and I'll queue us up another issue of the NME. Bye for now.